Welcome to this week's edition of the World of Warcraft podcast, Here Be Dragons. We are joined this week not only by my fabulous co-host Neek, with Beard Resplendent, but also the fantastic Cham. So, Cham, tell us a little bit about you. Introduce yourself to the gang and to the cast.
Hello, welcome. It's nice to be here. First of all, so yeah, I'm Sham. I've been playing WoW for quite some years now. And if you know me, you'll probably realise that I'm the Robin to most people's Batman. I'm the person who just kind of just follows people around tidying up their mess 9 times out of 10. But yeah, that's kind of me really. If you know me, you know me. If you don't, why not? Um, yeah, dry sense of humor, and yeah, I just feel like a dating pit. I had like long walks on the beach and pina coladas.
I love
Yeah,
this. So at the end of the stream, we'll tell everyone where you are on the internet, and people
yeah.
can get in touch if they fancy a date. I guess that's how it's going to go.
Don't tell the wife, but
Yeah,
we can keep it on the down low.
I do love the Batman to the sort of the Robin to people's Batmans. I think that's a really cool way of describing what mods do and some of the work that goes on behind the scenes. But before we get into interviewing you, we'll get into what's going on this week in WoW for us and a few things going on across the game. So Neek, pick a topic.
First of all, the just a little reminder for everyone: the Love Rocket / Heartbreaker is still available for a few more days.
Ooh.
Once a
So
day,
yeah,
once per
Well,
day per account,
uh,
not per character.
allegedly, I think it's a myth.
I still think it's a
so
myth.
you don't have it then, gang?
No, we don't have it.
No, I'll tell you
How
what we could do with my
awkward.
love rocket
I'm too
cap
busy
with that.
sat on my long boy.
fair
Yeah, so
play.
once per day per account, not per character. Some people still think you have an increased inverted commas drop chance to get the mount. Yeah. After that
Well,
first attempt per day, it goes back to the old drop chance. So
it
if you want
does.
to
Like
run it
one
with
in
40
4,000,
characters,
wasn't it?
yeah. So
So,
people are getting the drop, so it does
do
work.
either of you have a count for how many times you've done it? How many times you've tried?
Um, Unfortunately,
I
with Shadowlands swapping over to Dragonflight, I had to reset some add-ons, and Rarity was one of them.
Okay.
So I lost a lot of randomly some counters. So some mount counts it's kept, some of the others it hasn't kept. I don't know why, but I used to run it
same.
on every character every day, for the entire month. So I've got 50 characters, so add that up for 4 years.
Wow. And are you running on multiple characters as well, Cham? Or are you just one a day?
I'm just doing the one a day. The way I've kind of treated it is that because I'm doing a lot of completionist content at the minute anyway.
Hmm.
I'm kind of just treating it as it was before. Whereas, great, I'm going to run it for the day, and if not, forget it. Great, if not, see you next year.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. It's
I, I yeah, I'm not. I've got like about 20 odd eligible characters that I can run it on, but for me, it's like it's a nice to have, and we can't use it in the expansion at the minute we're in it anyway.
Fair.
So it's more of a collectionist thing.
Yeah. I suppose because you only get that additional extra drop chance on your first character of the day anyway, it does make sense to not run it on multiple. I like that they've done that to kind of just sort of be like, well, we're going to give you this extra chance, but we're not going to give it to you across the board so that you end up feeling that pressure to just run it on God knows how many characters every day.
Although, if they did make it a Dragonfly mount, Vigor on a Love Rocket might be a bit terms of service.
Yeah, could be kind of fun though for a rocket to be a dragon riding mount. I think. I don't know. I feel
A
like
barrel roll.
I feel like they should. I feel like in future expansions we might get mounts that aren't dragons that have dragon riding. That's a hope.
Be like Afterburn and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the other thing that happened this week in WoW was nerfs to Razageth. Who's doing it? Does it feel different? Is it good?
I'm not at the moment.
Yes, it does feel different, but also what happened this past reset was we lost Valor cap, so
Mm-hmm.
people are able to just grind as much Valor as possible. So eye levels are going to shoot up quite significantly as well. So it's a combination between increased eye levels and the nerfs. So it does feel easier, but there is a degree of overgearing it as well, because it is very much a gear check. It's about how much can you do in certain damage windows, and importantly, how much can your healers and your defensives take in those damage windows before you have to. Your bases pass or fail, because you usually get a dot that just wipes you. It's like hundreds of thousands of damage every second. If you don't hit that check, you might survive a bit longer, but you're dead already. Like I say, personally, I'm now getting to phase 3 pretty consistently. We're still not quite there, but we could gear in another couple of practice. We should be close. People are starting to learn the mechanics now and not die to sort of, because it's a very scripted mechanic phase.
Yeah,
it's very much a pattern. You do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you do this, and then you repeat. Once you learn those steps, you shouldn't be dying to the mechanics. It's only those very sort of DPS check windows where it really hurts.
Yeah. And Cham, have you taken advantage of the Valor cap change?
I love Mythic Plus. No. So I haven't really taken advantage of it. No, not yet. I've got some Valor in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Just so for the kind of context, work's been manic at the start of this year, with training and being away, etc. So I've just not really had that time to be able to commit to gearing and getting the M plus in. Obviously, trying to balance up the family as well. So yeah, it's not really been something I've been able to get into. I killed Razzie G on normal, but not really made any strides in heroic as of yet. But yeah, it's been a bit of a weird one, to be honest, to start with. And I think, like Neek says, hitting phase 3 constantly, at that point, you've got most of the mechanics down. It's about fine tuning and knowing where you can pinch that damage in those windows to kind of push through.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the kind of how do you kind of the work-life balance of World of Warcraft and stuff when we kind of get into the interview proper. But the other thing I sort of wanted to touch on this week is I guess it's kind of like a bit of an unexpected story arc for me, is that I think I may either be a furry or have just decided that I've found my first horde race that kind of hooks me in the same
And
way.
this
as
is how we know
gnomes.
it's the end of the podcast. We're no longer talking to each other. Cap is now a filthy horde player.
I don't know what's happened. It's the most unexpected story arc. I know, right? Like I'm literally drinking out of a For the Alliance mug as we speak. But I didn't know how cute Vulpera were and how great they feel as hunters because of the little flippy jump they do. Like you know how I like to bounce around when I'm a BM hunter. So I've sort of hooked on it. I hate Orgrimmar still. I think it's miserable. But part of my brain is like, who cares? We're going to be in Valdrakken soon anyway.
It's when you sent a picture on Twitter and it was like, you're a high mountain or just normal Tor, and I was like, Cap, you don't play big characters. You're a goblin at best. And I was like, maybe a Vulpera. And the next thing I know, I logged on, it's like, I'm a Vulpera. And I thought, oh god.
I blame my channel for that. It happened on stream. I foolishly allowed democracy to decide which character I would pick, and Tauren was chosen. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that for a bit. And then at the end of the stream, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna make the little Vulpera hunter. And there I was at like 2:00 in the morning, 3 hours later after ending stream, being like, what am I doing with my life? I'm exhausted, but this is like the most fun I've had on a character in ages. So I don't know. Maybe I found there's still not like S tier. I feel like we've got S tier is like gnome, but they're very A to S for Vulpera for me. So
you need to make a shaman just for the total. Literally, the only reason I made mine was first of all to get the achievement of the Aladreus Heritage Armor.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to be a fox, you want the fox totems because they are unbelievably cute.
Yeah, we were doing Toll de Gore yesterday, weren't we? And you're playing enhancement, but you chucked a totem out, and I literally mid-fight stopped, turned around, looked at the totem, and went, "Oh my god, they're so cute. I just couldn't. I'm obsessed. They're so adorable. But I think I've gotten into the headcanon as well. Anyway, Cham, you are here.
Well, just to quickly touch on that, it's like
Yes.
movie structure, like the first act. This is your second act where Cap goes heel, and then your
Yeah.
redemption arc starts soon when you come back to the Alliance.
Oh
That
no, he
could
said the
be it.
word. He said the word.
Oh,
Talk about wrestling now.
no, let's not talk about wrestling. I know nothing about wrestling, but you can have a conversation about wrestling, but we'll get to that. So Cham, as you are here, let's interview you. Let's find out about you. So I guess let's start. When did you start playing WoW? What draws you to WoW as a game? Why World of Warcraft?
So I was part of a group of friends online, and we had this kind of meetup. And one of my mates was like, "Oh, you've been playing WoW since like it came out?" I was a big Diablo 2 player. I've played the first open beta, and the whole subscription model put me off. I was obviously younger at the time, didn't have a stable income, so it was like, And so then he was like, "Oh yeah, we've got this new expansion coming out, the first expansion, Burning Crusade." And it was like, "Oh, you just give it a go." So then I picked it up, had to play around with it just before BC came out. Rolled on Draenor. This is how long ago it was when Draenor actually was 50-50 at Horde and Alliance.
Yeah.
Not like 99%
The good old
Horde.
days.
The good old days. And yeah, then just kind of went across there, and it kind of hooked me for a little bit. Then I kind of dipped off a bit more. Then I came back a bit more long term towards, like, it must have been about like a few months later on. Found a guild. I still talk to some of the people on WhatsApp now in that guild that I was in all those moons ago. But yeah, and it kind of it was that hook of an open world, because back then, and this is something we speak about a lot, is the world was a lot bigger back then. You didn't often bump into someone who was in a different country because we were younger. We didn't have those kind of things, and the internet was a lot less mature. We didn't have all the social media platforms, thankfully, back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was that kind of exploration and that community that kind of hooked you and brought you in, and yeah, being part of a guild kind of really helped with that as well. So yeah, that's what hooked me. The game gets you, the people keep you.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely. And just touching on faction balance there, because that's a really good point. A lot of the servers now, I think what people do is they go and look for, where's everyone, where are all the Horde, where are all the Alliance? And they're sort of filtered into, you've got an Alliance server and a Horde server. Would you be kind of like in favor of something like, or what are your thoughts on something like just removing the factions or having cross-faction guilds, cross-faction everything?
I'm in total agreement with it. If you want to have a split in the line, that's what War Mode for, and that is what PvP is for. You can have that. I think they've already planted that seed, obviously, with cross-faction dungeons, and cross-faction guilds were working in beta for Dragonflight when they first came in, because we obviously tested them with Dan. But I think long term, that's what communities are for. Communities are that foundation. Communities will look at potentially replacing guilds because they're more built for that cross-faction. There's more kind of integration in there. But for me, yeah, rip the band-aid.
Yeah.
Pull it now.
I think it's more of a case of guilds haven't really been touched on since Kata. And they're quite antiquated in what they can do, what they are doing, and things like outside programs like Discord and Guilded have taken over a lot of that function. And I wouldn't be surprised if Blizzard are reassessing what functions in game the guild actually has. And once they do a larger restructuring of what it can do, I mean, they're always going to push their own internal voice channels, but like, just give up on that. But just the functionality and things like having multiple roles for people in the guild and things like that. Once that's, I think, done, I can see that's when they roll out like guilds now revamped, re-improved, and now cross faction. That's when it would come. I don't think they will bolt it onto the current system.
Do we think we're close to that this expansion though, given that it was testable in beta?
No, I think it's more of a 11.0 feature.
For me, it feels like a box feature. That's something that would come out with the next expansion. or maybe a point expansion toward like pre-patch, something on those lines, because it seems, as even looking at 0.7, a lot of the development work is actually being plowed right into proper new content, which actually, as players, that's probably what we want. And stuff like cross faction should be more of a box feature for the next expansion.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree there. I think it could be such a massive thing that it would seem silly to bury it in a point patch, wouldn't it? Really, and make more of a thing of it, sort of bring it as a core feature of sort of what's coming next in the story. And I suppose it probably would benefit from a bit of story lead in as well. So I wanted to ask what it's like being a mod for a famous content creator. You touched on the kind of Robin to other folks Batman, and of course we all know Mr. GM. What's it like?
It's no real different than being a viewer, to be honest. You just have extra, not responsibility, but and everyone kind of treats it slightly differently. But that's the beauty of it. So for me, I'm there just to check in with him, make sure he's okay. Go kind of keep him on track if I can with any like sponsorships coming through. Make sure he's keeping on top of that, and then just day to day modding that everyone else does. I don't just mod for Dan. I mod for other channels as well, like Wochi. And to be honest, it's no different than Wochi. Yeah, I take a different kind of approach behind the scenes with Dan because he's got a lot on his plate. He writes a theme tune, sings a theme tune. He records a theme tune. So it's just kind of trying to help him out from that side of view. And I've always kind of seen it as well with streaming. And I don't know as a streamer if you'd agree with this, but you almost have to treat a stream, if you want to be serious about it, as a business.
Yes.
And yeah, you can have it as a hobby if you're not, if you just want to pop out the stream like I do here and there. But obviously with Dan, this is his livelihood. This is what goes to it. So it has kind of that, for me, and the way I take it, has that sense of responsibility there that I'm there to kind of help protect his brand to a degree and advise where I can do from my own real world Cham.
Yeah.
Nearly doxed myself. Not that everyone knows my name anyway, but yeah, it's one of them. It's no real different than anything else. But I think the key is as well is have a balance of mods. Have someone who you can have an ear to, and I've been mods for people, or I've been in different channels and different areas where they're just surrounded by people who want to say yes. And the challenge with that is, you wouldn't do that in business. You'd have people there who would give you advice, and you could take the right plan of attack on there, not just, oh yeah, you're wonderful, you're great. That's wonderful, but no, there's no growth. There's no
there,
construction there.
There are some people who have that mod privilege, and it's worn purely as a VIP badge, and it's nothing's done. No action is taken at the time, and that's fine. But those people aren't really benefiting the stream or the streamer. Just your chances are it's something you give to your friends when you're just first starting out, and then when you grow bigger, it's like, actually, I need someone who actually does something or knows something.
Yeah,
because you can have you could be like technical mods, a mod who does all the background stuff and all the camera and the OBS and all that setup, but actually he's not very good at the interaction with the chat. But that's fine. But they have their role within the structure, as long as someone else elsewhere is doing the other functions.
Yeah, the way I see day-to-day modding is that I'm there to ban any naughty words that I can't use on this podcast. You come in, make sure that chat isn't getting too embroiled in controversial subjects.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of them going around right now.
Yeah, sure are. Yeah.
And it's just making sure that they're keeping within, like, I kind of know what Dan's comfortable with, and if something comes in that's a bit too spicy, and it's going to lead him down a rabbit hole that's not going to be beneficial for him, or it's just going to, chat's then going to just whip himself up into a rage. That's where you have to, as a mod, kind of like, right, children, it's now time to stop arguing, get out the sandpit, And then it's just the background stuff like setting up commands, making sure
Yeah.
that block terms are there, or doing the auto mod stuff. But Nick's absolutely right. You know, as someone with a lower consecutive view account, most people mod themselves and they have mods as like VIP badges, which is absolutely fine. You know, you don't really need 6 mods to mod a 20, 30 person channel.
Definitely, and I think I would say as a streamer, I completely concur with that. It's certainly the folks that I've got as mods, people I absolutely trust to know my brand and where I'm at and mod appropriately if they're there. But I'm certainly no expectation of folks to be there. And obviously, I mean, both of you have this perspective of modding for larger streamers. So how responsible do you both feel in terms of supporting that streamer's mental health and well-being? Because that's something I wanted to kind of consider this morning. So I'll start, Neek. What about you? Obviously,
I
a mod for
personally
a big
think
streamer.
it is quite important just because you are looking out for them. Because sometimes, in the moment, it's not always in their best interest to interact with a comment or touch on a subject. And sometimes, sometimes even if they're going like a really long stream, sometimes you have to say to them, "Look, maybe take a break. Just
Yeah,
you can go in 8, 10, 12 hours just for your own safety to go and take a bathroom break or grab a drink. Just like look out for yourself, because if you get burnt out, it's not going to help the stream in the long term because you'll miss the next day. Or because I think streaming is about a consistent schedule, and you need to alter that as much as you can. So you need to keep yourself mentally and physically able to do that where you can. And sometimes they don't have to follow your advice as a mod, but you have to be there to jump in and say, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And hopefully they'll take on board and reassess. And actually, maybe I can just call the stream an hour earlier today and head off.
yeah. And Cham, do you find this the same thing? You feel an element of responsibility for the mental health of the folks that you mod for?
Yeah, I think it's just a responsibility overall, because you've been entrusted as an advisor on someone there who's there to help protect that person, that brand, their livelihood. Essentially, it's it's no different than being employed by someone, except obviously we don't get paid. It's a voluntary gig, and it is. I'm there to protect them as a streamer, but I truly consider Dan a friend, and
Yeah.
that's not a parasocial relationship. We've met up for beers. We I talk to him more than my wife on Discord every day. It's we just chat because we have common interests and stuff like that. So for me, it's just about making sure that when it's going well, you got to keep it grounded. You over Christmas you had all these promotions and stuff coming out. Everything was
Yeah,
flying in. It was
that was
wonderful.
amazing.
Keeping it light, right? Okay, sun shining, make hay. But then now on the flip side of that, numbers are starting to come down. It's January, everyone's feeling it. It's making sure that he's aware that it's not his content, it's the peak and trough of Twitch.
Yeah.
And that's a universal thing. That doesn't matter on your size. You will see these peaks and troughs. Obviously, it's easier when if you've got 10, 15,000 viewers at times, because it'll even itself out over the year. But it's just keeping it grounded and making sure that you're always there as a friend, and it's not always kind of like, oh, how's the stream going today, when you can't be there, because it's about more than that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the parasocial aspect, because it is something I occasionally worry about. In that, like yes, I mean, in a words, employed by you or entrusted by you, but at the same time, you need to sort of like be aware that sometimes those people aren't always your friends. Some of them will be, but not all of them will be. So you just have to keep it realistic and not over invest sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd completely concur with that. And there's times when you need to be like, right, okay, not need to step back, but let chat just kind of be what they are, and not kind of be chatting away all the time and having in jokes and stuff like that, because sometimes you're alienating everyone else then. And it's also having those, for me, it's having those two different modes. So we'll chat away about wrestling or Marvel or whatever, whatever's going on at the time in private. But then when it comes to on the stream, it's like kind of, right, okay, if I'm going to tell you, this needs to kind of go, this is my advice, this is what I think. Sometimes it's like, you're not sending that tweet. If you send that tweet, I'm driving down to Guildford now to delete your Twitter.
To take your phone away.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that kind of element of I guess, like you say, you said this earlier, so it becomes a business. So that's the more of a business conversation. You're putting a different hat on to have that conversation and to reflect on what's needed for the business, as opposed to supporting your friend.
Ultimately,
in the
he
moment.
doesn't need to listen to me,
but
all I can give him is my context and my spin on things. Not from a streaming point of view, but actually from a business point of view, of almost treating it like PR or marketing, or from that side of it, from management point of view as well, because you have to kind of take that gig when that's what's putting food in your fridge.
Yeah. And I guess it's very different, isn't it, for somebody that's doing it full time? Like you say, it's their livelihood, it's their income. For others, it's a side hustle, but it's still income. Streaming is an important part of what folks do, and it's it's something that they need to protect that thing that they do, because it is income. So with that in mind, you're a family man, as am I, and I'm always intrigued when we have guests with kind of family and work and other commitments. How do you balance gaming and modding and family life and your partner and their needs and all of the other stuff?
But thankfully, Dan streams during the day, which for me gives me a bit more flexibility, because I can have him on second or third screen while I'm getting on with actual work stuff. I'll have him on, and to treat him almost like a radio show sometimes. So you'll see often, if I'm there, I'll be kind of in the background, and then one of the things I'll do is, if chat slows down, and Dan is really good at this anyway, who has conversations, he naturally gets people talking. If chat slows down, then I'll be like, right, okay, I need to just eke things on a little bit and get some conversation going. So during the day and the streaming for that side is fine. Evening ones I struggle a little bit more with. So like with Wochi, I'm in and out a bit more, and I'll miss certain streams just because of commitments or whatever's going on. And it's the same kind of with WoW as well. So depends exactly what I'm doing at the time. If I'm able to kind of get a standard schedule together to start raiding, then have a conversation with the wife, and she's like, okay, well, these 2 days I'm going to be raiding, so can you make sure the kids are in bed, etc., and stuff like that. And it's just a balance, right? It's just a complete, you have to kind of almost take every day as it comes and get that time where and when you can. Yeah, it's a challenge sometimes, but yeah, it is what it is.
Does your wife game?
We did play WoW for a little bit.
Okay.
So she played for a little while, but she's not a traditional gamer. From that side of it, she would much rather be, from what I see, scrolling through TikTok. And if I have to hear Miley Cyrus one more time tell me that she can buy her own flowers,
it's the first song that TikTok wants to put on anything you do. So I think it just sets itself by default. But yeah, I like that song, but I've overheard it.
I love you, Miley. I love the fact that it's empowerment, but just go and buy them. Just go do it.
Right, just buy the flowers. Stop telling us that you can. Just do it, please. We appreciate you.
Oversaturation, shall we say?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and then she plays a couple of mobile games here and there, but nothing kind of like console or PC based.
Yeah. Do you find that being a gamer? So do you feel understood as a gamer? Because I find a lot of relationships where it's kind of half gamer, half not. There's that almost kind of like a constant friction, probably a positive friction between do less gaming stuff, do understand gaming stuff. There's kind of the sort of two sides of that. Do you find that as well, or is that something that you've kind of found a balance for? And if you have, what's the secret?
It's finding that balance, and the secret to any relationships, communication, right? It's that being like, right, okay, you're watching something on Netflix or you're watching something on TV. Other streaming services are available, and like I'll come in. I'll be in the because I game on a laptop. It makes things a bit easier, so I can pick up and sit in the living room, and you can have Grey's Anatomy or other medical
Love Grey's Anatomy.
programs or something, or 911 Dispatch. I think she's been watching it at the moment, something like that. And then I'll be in the room with her, and I could, because I'm not normally on comms when I'm around, and not at the desk or raiding. Then we can just have conversations and stuff as we normally would. But she's just doing her thing, I'm doing my thing in the same kind of space with each other.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So
Sounds like you got it sorted.
So,
Kind of,
if you can even
sometimes.
go into this sort of detail, go on, what's the worst thing you've had? The mod. What's the worst? It must have been like one interaction you thought, this is terrible.
I'll take it from two approaches, right? The worst thing you get is when, and this might be peeking a bit too far behind the curtain, when people are generally struggling, and Dan has openly said this on stream, that he's either been struggling because numbers have dipped and whatever, or he's not in a good headspace because of X or Y or Z going on. So it's quite hard as a friend, and again, I do treat him as a friend sometimes, to see him in that position and how you can, as anyone would with any of their friends, right? They've come and said your job's and work's crap right now, and do you want to go for a beer or whatever? Obviously, it's a bit far to travel just for a beer, but yeah, that's one of the worst side of it from that side. The other worst side of it is when you've got someone who becomes part of the community and the wider side of it, because you're going to get people who are raging teapots coming all the time.
Yeah.
And they're just random people, but when you've got someone who's part of the community and who's been a regular in the chat for a while, and then they start their heel turn, it's like, right, okay, you've got to yeah, got to sit on the timeout bench now, and then they start getting a bit more. It goes down the rabbit hole, and it's sad to see someone go from the community, but
it's for the best overall.
It's for the best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I laugh because it's something I imagine pretty much every single guildmaster, streamer, anyone that's been kind of doing that for a long time, anyone running a community has probably unfortunately seen that happen. And it's one of those things, isn't it? You have to think about the community in the longer term.
This is one thing you have to realize as well, that ultimately we're communicating normally with pieces of text. You don't understand the person behind that in real life. You don't understand nuance. It's easier to kind of not say anyone's opinion's wrong or right, because everything's contextual, right, to their current situation and their upbringing and their values.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't understand that as someone, and then all of a sudden you have this kind of avalanche come in. It's difficult to then understand that, and also realize that you have that in there to start with. That one person starts it, and you've got 4 or 5 or 6, and it starts to snowball if you allow one person to kind of sidestep things. So yeah, having to cut people off is a bit unfortunate. C'est la vie.
On the flip side of that, what's the best part of being a mod? What are the great things that have happened?
Being drunk at PreachCon with Dan and Kirsten, and that was pretty good. That was very, very, yes, very, very, very drunk. Very good, very nice.
And that's the first time we met.
Yeah, I went to
That's pretty
PreachCon,
sure.
and then because Mage was there as well.
Yeah,
Randomly
we got assigned to a table. It's like, oh, who's that? That's Cham.
Yeah.
Oh, who's that next to me? Oh, it's Watchy. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know these people now.
Yeah. Me making my really inappropriate jokes at PreachCon that are not safe for stream.
No,
I was going to say,
nothing controversial. Just yeah.
It stays at PreachCon. By the way, everyone should come to PreachCon.
Isn't that happening again this year? I feel like thing.
Provisionally, yeah. I've not heard any reason why it wouldn't be going ahead.
That's what I think. I
Exciting.
can't
I've heard
see
some half-hearted
any-
rumours that he wants to do it in Spain, but I don't think that's
Wow.
realistic.
Be warm though.
That's, I think, the reason why he wants to do it, because Manchester, prone to rain.
Yeah, fair. You probably get some nicer time off around it in Spain than you would in Manchester, I
But
guess.
yeah, realistic, I think it'll be around the similar time in the similar area, I would have thought.
Yeah.
We were down in Murcia in Spain in November, and it was lovely down there and really cheap. So I can highly recommend.
Or maybe PreachCon in Spain's looking up then. That's a possibility. So let's get on to Dragonflight, maybe. What do you think is happening next? Where are we headed next in Dragonflight?
Well, hopefully, small expedition shovels can stack in higher than one.
Oh.
That'd be nice. That's the biggest change I need right now.
No.
But I
What
have
you
to
need
keep going
is
back.
you hit rank 25, you buy one that never runs out. It's a shovel.
Yeah,
Why is it break?
just a shovel. Yeah, that'd be great.
What are these shovels made of that I can only dig 5 times with them? That's not sustainable. And then it costs 15. So what's the? Yeah. Anyway, I think we'll just work our way through the proto kind of drakes and go through there and almost treat it controversially a bit like Warlords of Draenor, because obviously they're now loose, and then we'll work through kind of either a patch or raid or maybe dungeon level through them all, and then I can't see anything but Galakrond as the big bad at the end of this one, and then
Yeah, so I'm trying to avoid as much PTR stories as I can. So maybe it's already been announced, but if the next patch is going to be underground with Iridicron, it feels like they're jumping in the first patch to the end boss that's been set up so far. So yeah, they're going to have something else beyond that in point 2, potentially point 3. So
they say there's nothing. Blizzard have actually been really quite good with some of the story stuff. That a lot of it's been encrypted on PTR. There's not really been a lot of that that's kind of got leaked. I think like the first time we saw the cinematic, I might be wrong with this, but I thought the cinematic was the first time we saw that was actually after the first kill. It wasn't the data mine before that.
It was very close, wasn't it?
Yeah, usually Squishy from my head literally gets a normal group together of absolute mythic players and blasts normal just to get to that first cinematic, and it's out within like 2 hours of the raid starting. That's what they do.
But
that's good, though,
so I think from a story point of view, that's maybe where we're going. Who knows, really, at this point of view? And then we'll see kind of where we go from there. Further downstream, I think from a systems point of view, I like that they're putting kind of temporary systems in, whereas before we'd have these overarching kind of build up, rather than going in there with a sledgehammer and nerfing the content to the ground. And they're giving us this little bit extra power to kind of build things up. So, the gems in the ring.
I'm glad people have been a bit more tempered in the response to the rings, because I think a lot of people first came out and said, "Oh, it's borrowed power, it's
Gods of domination."
yeah, and it's like people actually went, "Yeah, but it's like 10.07. If you don't kill in the raid by now, then it's not really that much about borrowed power." And they got to 424, which will be like LFI gear by the next patch. It's not power, it's just like, here's a fun little like Torghasty event dungeon thing to go and play around and have fun with some weird fun powers. Like, so what?
I can't remember what the raid was. But there was a stacking debuff every week that increased the bosses. I think it was like a couple of 5% or whatever over a period of time. It was like a ongoing nerf every reset until that point.
I vaguely remember that as well. When was that?
I can't remember what it was. I want it. My gut says ICC, but I don't know if it was. But there was a kind of a debuff system that came in on the bosses that kind of nerfed them gradually over that period.
Slowly over time.
But I much prefer this one where you have to go and kind of get it and go through. And I've seen a lot of people say, "What if the powers are really, really powerful and it replaces my mythic ring?" Well, I think Blizzard have kind of learned, and I'd expect them when 10.1 comes out to slash the power and nerf it, so that you don't have a ring that's best in slot for the entire expansion.
Yeah.
From a 0.7 patch.
I think with crafted gear, I just think gear permanency is going to be a bit more of a thing. I think we're going to be upgrading those items to the next eye level rather than going, oh, well, let's replace them with something new. So if you've got a mythic ring that you've upgraded and crafted, you're going to carry on with that. You might have
I hope so.
New embellishments or an embellishment increase cap. That's where the power is going to come from.
I think you're right from crafted, because that's an investment, isn't it? It's investment time and gold and materials.
Lots of time and gold.
Yeah, exactly. But compared to the ring with the gems, then that's going to be quite a, from the look of it, and obviously seeing how Dan's got it, the gems are quite easy to come by. You can fish for the certain ones, a bit like in the gambling system in Diablo, to kind of get the ones you need very early, and there's a quite a way around that. So something like that takes a few hours gameplay to get, I would expect to replace. Whereas with crafted gear, I'd expect to be able to go through, because they pitched it as an end game activity into itself. So
still got my staff, and I'm going to keep that staff till the end because I need it, and it's.
I've got my bow, and I'm like, I must, even if the Razageth bow drops, I'm going to be like, I just keep my bow because I made it.
What are your thoughts with the crafted? Are you doing public orders? Are you doing orders just within the guild or personal ones?
So now that the reduced number of public orders you could have from 20 to 4, there are actually things on there now, but it tends to be very low items. Like I'm a scripter and a herbalist, so the description items that are on there are generally treaties, and they're dirt cheap to make, realistically. But that's it. So if occasionally, very occasionally, you'll find a staff or a codex on there, but it's snapped up instantly.
Yeah, they go
so
fast,
most of my item crafts have come from the guild, or occasionally I will sit there if I'm bored, spamming trade chat, and I've made a couple of sales through that. But some people are like very hesitant to spend money, so we'll ask you for something, say you'll agree a price, and you're like, okay, send me the order. Never comes through.
The one button I wish they would fix is there's a button that says, "Oh, you see what other crafting things." I never know how much gold to put in. I don't know how much.
I think because there isn't enough data on the public crafting orders.
Yeah.
So because everyone's doing it, the old trade chat channels, which is anonymous to a degree. What I want.
The point of the system.
What I want is you go to the thing and you can go, show me the crafters. Show me like the best crafters who have got the most likes, recommended, 5-star, whatever.
TripAdvisor.
But if they can only have four crafts a week, then grey them out and then show me the next guy and the next guy until I find the guy who I can use.
This could get a sponsorship and have like Uber Crafts.
It just feels like the person when you put an order on the public one, you're rolling your dice whether you can get a good rank 1 or a rank 5 quality.
Yeah,
this is the biggest problem I kind of have with it, because I want to, if I'm going to put all this in, I want to be able to say, right, I need this at rank 5, and they can't deliver that item until it's rank 5. And if they want to take it rank 4, then reroll, that's fine. But that's kind of on that side of the fence. I'm the customer. They're the supplier. They need to. I tell them what they want. They need to deliver it to me.
I think much like you click on someone and you can see their talents, you should be able to see their crafting skills and their rock chance and things like that. So you should
be able to see their spreadsheet, how they've worked out what percentage of what they've got.
Yep. So if you click on it and it says he can do skill 300 and he's got a proc chance of 42%, I know there's a fairly good chance he's going to get me a rank 5. If I click on him and he's got 200 skill and inspiration proc of like 10, I'm like, well, he's not going to get me realistically.
maybe there's an extra step there. Then you put your order out to the market, then they say, "Yeah, I can do that," and then you, as the orderer, the customer, say, "I can have a list of who's got what with what the burn down of what their chances are," and say, "Yes, they'll do it," and I can give them, well, whatever they're asking for gold wise.
There's definitely improvements to be made on that side.
Yeah,
But the
absolutely.
overall
This first iteration, I think
Yeah.
it's a better start.
I love
Yes.
the crafting
The much better
acquisition.
system. It just like you
just
say, there's
the selling
technical
of it.
iterations. Yeah,
Also the prices.
yeah.
I know they're set by the prices of things are set by the players, and I understand that because that's just how economies work. But that can be fixed with increased drop rates of certain key crafting items. Like, I'm a herbalist. You can farm, and you can farm for an hour and get like such a small amount of witherbark that it's almost, yeah, you can't craft anything with it because it's like you craft one thing, it's like, oh, that's all my crafting gone because I've used it all.
I always feel like
That's
herbalists
one
should
of
have like a
the-
little garden they can access where they can grow a few herbs every day.
Well,
Like
there are some
back to the
weird
farm
little
in Muck.
things with herbalism. Like if you go to the crafter guy once a day, once an hour, you can plant a flower that
Oh yeah,
does nothing.
yeah. Doesn't seem to do anything though.
And then
Is
just
it like
above
a-
the bank, there's like a giant plant, and I think there's a secret there or something I've not quite discovered. I think if you got 10 herbalists, you could do something. But when you click it, it says it gives you a buff, and it mentions he wants like lots of buffs, but you have a cooldown, so you can't rebuff him. So I think you need like lots of people to do it, and he'll do something. It might be completely nothing.
like
flavor
spawn
of-
something or
Yeah, but it's
To the
just like,
wow.
there's little
secret
things in there that
Discord.
people haven't quite. I'm always on the secret Discord looking for something.
Mm.
For example, I remember when in PTR and early release, people found that just off the coast is like a pool of gold with like Nizoth eggs and tentacles coming off it.
Yes.
That's not there anymore. It's now an Easter egg.
What everyone needs to do is need to go and tweet and Zoth on
Interesting.
Twitter and ask him where his eggs and tentacles
Yeah.
have gone.
The gold's still
where's
there,
it
but it's an
gone?
Easter egg, and I think, yeah, I just love the idea that a dev's gone in there and go, oh, they like Easter egg hunting, do they? There's an Easter egg.
Love it.
Or maybe it was just a reused asset that.
Yeah, I think it was a
was then
reused asset, 'cause I
fixed.
think it was in just off the coast of BFA as well.
This is how conspiracy theories start.
It is. Yes, definitely. So it's been great having you, Cham. But shall we get to the news and then we can wrap up. So we're running short on time. So there's a few things that have happened across the course of this week. Most notably, the MDI, the Mythic Dungeon Invitational of 2023 has started. It's commenced. Are either of you watching it?
I haven't watched yet, but I will be, so I can learn how to be shouted at by pugs in Keys for not doing the MDI routes.
And if you're meta or not, right?
I'm never meta.
No, never met
I
her.
was meta in
Never
season
met her.
4 last season, but not this. No.
That was before you became a traitor and ditched the mage to be a warlock, right?
Oh.
Controversy.
Wow.
Purple mage time.
I do. So I'll dip in and out. I'll watch a couple of bits here and there in the background if I've got nothing else on. But for me, Mythic Plus is an ends to a means. So
Okay.
yeah, it's interesting to see the skill level, but a lot of it contextually doesn't make much sense to me because I'm not pushing 20s and
Yeah.
seeing what actually the plays they're doing is great. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because
MDI is very much like not Mythic Plus. What they're doing is very, very high skill,
Niche. Yeah.
yeah,
rigorously practiced to the nth degree. You're not going to get that in your pugs. You're not even going to get in your guild groups realistically, unless you are very, very high skilled. But
you're not going to get that in pugs. You're no. Hunter Lover 69 420 in my pug said that actually this is what we should be doing.
Yeah, this is the problem. They see things and then they don't quite realise that you're in a +7 and you're pulling like one pack at a time. You're not going to do 500,000 K DPS because you're
Love
not
it.
pulling around it. And it's like, this is the reason why the meta sort of stretches away from reality. It's like certain classes.
It's explosive week. We're going to go into 13, and then we're going to pull the entire room because I've seen Method do this.
Well, it's like certain classes will excel on massively huge pulls where everything's like clumped around a big ad.
Yeah.
Like Fire Mage will be probably doing huge numbers in MDI, and then you'll come back and they'll be like, "Oh, we'll have to get Fire Mages to do our plus 16 weekly," and then they'll be like, "Average damage." They'll be like, "Why are you not doing it? You must be trash booted."
I saw online that you should be doing at least 4,600 million damage, and you're not doing that, so I'm going to deplete this key.
Yeah.
No.
Do you think it? I mean, obviously, it does have an effect on some folks. Do you think MDI has that effect kind of on the broader community? Do you think it kind of works its way down to pugs where people develop that false expectation that this is how we do a key?
It's very
I don't
much.
pug, so.
It's very much like trickle down. It's like somebody somewhere will watch these videos and try to reproduce it, and then they'll then try and do it in a pug, and then that pug will see it, not understand why they're doing it, but they'll think, well, we did it in that key and it worked, so they'll do it elsewhere, and then it'll just slowly work its down to everyone. Everyone will become, this is the accepted way of doing it. And
but does that kind of feed into the whole thing as well? We see everywhere kind of with the raiding side of it, and that where you'll look online, oh, these are the highest performing classes for the raid this week.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same.
They don't understand the data underneath that is the top 5% of players on Mythic. You're talking about a completely different skill there. That's like me going out in the car and saying, well, Lewis Hamilton can get to the shops in about 10 seconds, so I should be able to do it in my Peugeot. It doesn't work like that.
There's a lack of understanding of context and data. The tier list for raiding is the worst because, like, first of all, at the beginning of those data, you're dealing with classes with different gear setups. They haven't hit certain classes gear. Like, they haven't optimized yet. They're still gearing up.
Yeah,
and then later on, you've got buffs and nerfs coming in there, and then you've got different damage profiles. So, like, if a boss has got lots of downtime between bosses, certain classes are going to benefit and some are going to lose out. And it's like, and as people gear up, boss kill times become lower. So if you don't have as many burst windows as you previously did, you'll do less damage. If it's an ad fight, you're going to do more damage than an AoE focused class like a monk than you would do against if you go in pure single target against a boss. There's so much data and knowledge that goes into it. It cannot be summed down into a little list that goes, you're S rank, you're A rank, and you're B rank. It just doesn't work.
This is what I found when I was going through normal and Ellie, because as elemental, you're either doing single target or AoE. You can't. There's not really a proper build that will give you both. And saying, saying your damage profile fights like Razgeth, when you're one-on-one, absolutely fine. Yeah, can do a couple of targets. It's fine. But then you get down to the ad platform, and it's just like, I just sit here and wait, shall I?
You look at my damage profile. My profile on Razgeth at the moment is I go from like top 1, 2, 3, phase 1, goes to the ad phase because I'm not spec'd for that. I do like nothing, like virtually no damage. I'll do some damage to the main ad, but I can't cleave like the other classes. So I drop to like 10th on the overall. Yeah. Then we go back to the main platform.
Chain lightning, earthquake. Oh, you've moved. Great.
So then you go back to the boss and you start moving up again. So it's like, but it's the same. Like, if we didn't have those different profiles, we won't get through the first phase. And if we didn't have to people doing
football,
the big AoE,
you need a goalkeeper. Your goalkeeper's not going to score goals.
Yeah,
it's about the team effort, right?
So it is. Does the team get through the boss? Because if everyone's doing their job, it doesn't matter who's top because you've killed the boss. Yeah, passing for number 1 is something you do when you're farming. When you're in progression, everyone just has a job and they need to do it to the best of their ability. And
I agree. The only one thing I would say is if you are looking to improve, then passes can be useful if you look at your own bracket in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's the only time I would
looking at passes is useful, but looking at passes to get passes, I think it's just ego, and it's like
that top 1%. There's trickery afoot.
Yeah.
Well, they are removing PI more and more because in normal I got a pretty high rank, and then I looked at it and it was like, your rank has been disqualified because you had too many PIs.
Too many PIs,
oh.
you're out.
Yeah, and I think I had 4 PIs, and I think now they had a little.
Get out of here.
I think it's down if you get 1 PI, you're okay, but any more than 1,
you're just greedy.
There's a gold, doesn't it? It says this is at risk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, PI has always been a problem, but PI is also incredibly fun. So, I would rather have fun.
Never get it.
That's true.
Maybe it should have a debuff so you can only have it once. There you go.
Yeah, true.
I've just fixed PI.
And then it would just be like Shadow Priest top of the meters all the time.
Yeah.
But then actually on this mythic fight, we need all 7 of them on this boss to get past it.
Everybody.
That'll be the argument. We have to.
There'll be something for the people that talk like that. Hello.
Let's put it all our PIs on the prop warrior because they're doing the most damage.
Oh dear. So there's a couple of other news items to touch on. One important one. This week, you probably have been kind of aware in the news that there were huge earthquakes in Turkey and Turkey. I've just blended the two places, Turkey and Syria, and there is an earthquake relief campaign happening. So Raider.io, Warcraft Logs, and Raidbot and Liquid Women in WoW or Women in Warcraft are joining forces to raise money to help relief efforts for earthquake victims in both Turkey and northern Syria. So the first $1,000 donated, and we'll pop a link if people do want to donate into the show kind of comments on YouTube, is going to allow folks that donate that first 1,000 to have the Tiltify amount donated be Titan Forged. That is matched by each of the 4 sponsoring communities. So that means for the first 1,000 donated, when you donate $1, each of the 4 participating organizations are going to match it, turning your $1 into a $5 donation. So if you did want to support folks out there in Turkey and Syria right now who are really, really struggling, it's pretty grim if you watch the news. There's a way to do that as part of the WoW community and also have those fantastic community organizations support those donations. And then I guess the other thing that happened this week.
Can I just
jump in. No, jump in.
One of them jump ins. So as well, we are obviously in a cost of living crisis. Not everyone can donate financially. However, there is other things you can do to support this as well. We went through something similar with Ukraine at war. There, go and have a look through your cupboards. Are there any old blankets or any old sleeping bags, anything that's just rotting away in the back of the cupboard that can go out, any old clothes? There's donation places that will help out there, and then we'll get them out there to those affected, because right out there right now, there's no clean water, there's no shelter, and stuff like this is crucial. Time,
absolutely.
You can put time to sorting centres, just have a look around locally, what's around for you. If you can't financially donate, then there are other methods out there that you can do as well.
Definitely. And I guess it's probably worth saying as well, check out those organizations, check out those communities, get on Twitter, get on Twitch, get on, Insta, TikTok, YouTube, all of those places where Raider.io, Warcraft Logs, Raidbots, and Liquid Women in Wellcraft have content, and just boost that signal, boost that content. Liking something, retweeting something is a huge help. So make sure you're following those communities and getting the message out there, even if you're not able to contribute, because that's really, really important. And then of course, controversial news, Blizzard have started to encourage employees. So I feel like encourage is maybe too weak a word. Yes, almost demand employees come back into work. Yes, we're strongly suggesting, which is a very, it's a very corporate word. It's a very HR way of putting it, but they're strongly suggesting a hybrid way of working, which means they're encouraging employees, I believe it's to attend the office for about 80% of the working week. So that would leave you with, 1 or 2 days working from home, 3 or 4 days working in an office space. But they want people back in the office on a mandatory basis. So it is pretty controversial. What do you guys think, Cham? What are your thoughts on work from home versus work in the office?
So first of all, I don't understand. I don't know Blizzard's position. I don't know their business decision to do this. I don't know why they're doing it. So I can't comment on Blizzard's or Activision's decision directly. However, for myself, until COVID hit, I was primarily office based. COVID hit, we then went remote, and we've never looked back. In fact, to the point that we've kind of said, look, if we're not going back to the office, we'll go in there for meetings and stuff like that with the quality of life and the work balance. So yeah, for it to be kind of mandated down again without knowing the context is a bit harsh, especially for roles that are non-typical to kind of be in the office. And we've survived this far. They've made an expansion, and what that have done post Shadowlands under COVID as well
Yeah.
with the development cycle. The next expansion's under this current development cycle. It feels like it's one of these presenteeum decisions that's been made that, oh well, if you're not in the office, obviously you're not working, kind of thing. And we can come together for some in-person collaboration. Yeah, there's 3 of us collaborating right here, right now on a call in literally 3 different parts of the country. I mean, you can. We're a big triangle right now, and a lot of that doesn't. Do you need to be in person? It's nice to be in person. It's nice to be able to see people, but it's exhausting at the same time. You've got the commute on top of that. You've got higher cost of living because you're having to pay for that. You can't be remote to where your office is because you can't have a 3-hour commute, so you've got to move to a higher area of
Cost.
cost, higher area of cost. So for me, it feels like a very short-sighted, blind decision, and ultimately you need to keep your workers happy, because if you're, maybe they're just trying to have a fire sale to get rid of all the people who are on high wages to get people in who are going to be that can pay less. I don't know.
It's a fair point. Yeah, it's what's going to motivate the decision, I guess, and certainly we can't comment on Blizzard Activision's decision in the background, but it's interesting to think about kind of how we work, and the work quality that we're seeing on the surface of things is fantastic. So hopefully it's something's working. So why change, I guess? But
it feels like everything's just got its rhythm. Now it's like,
let's change it again.
So
I
personally,
you work in an office, right? So
I work hybrid. So I'm 2 days in the office, 2 days at home, 3 days in the office. It's one of these things. It's like everyone wants to spend more time at home, but there are certain, at least in my field of work, there are things that need to be done in the office. So we do need to be there for a degree of time. It's difficult to say without knowing the ins and outs of actually what a lot of these people do. Do they need like a game developer? It's all computer based. It's all. I don't think there's anything they need to go and do there. Like for my job, realistically, do I need to be in the office every day? No, but there's just enough things of my role that I would have to be there to make it realistic. I actually had a long meeting yesterday with several people, and it was discussed. Nothing was agreed, unfortunately, to reduce the days in the office to 2 days and then 3 at home. But we'll see how that pans out. These things are. It's very difficult to make comments on things without knowing the full ins and outs of everyone's role. There'll be someone in Blizzard who has a very hands-on role who has to be there all the time, and a lot of the time it can be morale-based. These decisions, it's so much like how if one person has to be in the office all the time, it feels like the other people will feel like, well, they can work from home. It doesn't feel fair. So I think sometimes decisions are made to try and be fair to all that will end up being a bit meh to everyone.
Is that back to that you can't please everybody point of view?
There are other issues that obviously this all came up in a meeting with Blizzard, and there are other issues which are a bit more cut and dry. For example, the I think it's called stack quotas, where they have to give a certain percentage of workers a bad review on their working performance, regardless of how their performance actually is, because they have to have, say, 20% overperforming, 20%
yes,
underperforming.
They stack ranked a bell curve.
Yeah, and
That's
unfortunately,
very common corporate practice.
that led to one of the senior classic guys leaving in protest because he was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell my workers that they're doing a bad job when they are doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the current things that really. I think that's one of the. I think hybrid working will get the headlines, but I think things like that are what probably annoys the workers more often.
Quite possibly, yeah, because
Um,
it feels like a difficult system to understand and to relay. And certainly in leadership roles I've done in the past, and even now, it's a complex system to understand that your stack ranking. So you're going to look at an overall group of say 10 people's work, and someone's at the bottom, someone's at the top. This doesn't mean the person at the bottom's bad; just means that they're not at the top.
It just depends what they do with that information, right? If it
Yeah.
if it has
It's then how you
financial
apply that.
implications, then yeah.
And it would do, something like that would then be used to dictate bonus or dictate salary review and things like that. I think it's just it's when you arbitrarily then have to put the bottom people at the bottom. So you could say in that stack rank there's good stuff there, but there's some people that are good, and then others are high and then outstanding. As long as you're okay not to put anyone at the bottom. If you're like, no, you have to have people that are underperforming. It's like, well, okay, it is underperformance in the context of a high performing group, but that's still not underperformance in the context of what we're asking someone to do in their job spec. And that's when it gets a bit iffy. So it depends on application, but I can't imagine they're applying it in that way. I mean, I would hope not. But then, wave the little old American flag. HR's a little different in the US. So what would I know?
Boo unions.
Yeah.
well,
So yeah, who knows how that's going to turn out? But it's interesting, though, isn't it? It's an interesting time, and it feels like a shame that Blizzard have got to this point of like great content, regular content, everything seems to be stable and good and heading in the right direction, and now they've unfortunately had one of these, in common corporate reviews, I guess, where they're like, okay, this is how we're going to now move forward in the post-COVID era.
I think what is encouraging though
what it
is that prior to the scandal of 2021, would these people have come out in quite a vocal way about these changes? And I think
possibly not.
one of the few good things of that scandal is that the devs who are there now are more willing to stand up and say, this isn't right.
Yeah.
You can't be doing this.
Yeah, and that's changed from within as well. There's a cultural shift in there, which is what we all wanted to see, right? We wanted to see more empowerment and make sure that none of the stuff in the past is going on again. So that's kind of, yes, good to see.
Absolutely. So that's it. That's all we've got time for, gang. Let's bring it to a close. Cham, tell us where we can find you across the internet. How can people find out more about you?
No one will be banning you in chats, so you'll find me around in many Twitch chats throughout the day. But primarily, you can get me on Twitter at macho_sham. Oh yeah.
Nice. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks for great conversations today. Neek, where can we find you across the internet?
Oh, I'm here, there, and everywhere in all different forms of Neek2323 on Twitter, Neek_23 on Twitch, and I'm always around, watching, taking it all in.
Neek bringing in the sinister at the end of the podcast there. I'm always watching.
Keep you on your toes.
Watching you, Wachowski. Always watching. And I have been the Cat Fantastic. You can find me across the internet at the Cat Fantastic on TikTok, Insta, Twitter, all the usual places, and of course YouTube and Twitch. Please don't forget as well, I have a massive charity event this time next Saturday. We will be in the midst of my first charity stream in support of Stonewall Housing for LGBT History Month. They are a charity that support queer folks that are in unsecure housing and need to be in a safe place, or perhaps even worse, homeless. And they are fan-flipping-tastic. They are a not-for-profit. There's only 17 people on their team. Every penny donated in that stream will go to them. But even if you cannot be there to donate because of the cost of living crisis that we are in right this very moment, as we said earlier in the stream, please just signal boost on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, all the places. Just, keep sharing those things, keep liking those things, get the message out, and that would be fantastic. And that is me. So thanks for joining us, gang. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next time.
Later.
Bye.